All right, so we're going to keep looking at some more sections from 1st and 2nd Samuel. And as I said earlier, each one of these sections will help us point out one of the ways that David and Jonathan shared this Christian friendship. So, 1 Samuel chapter 18. After David had finished talking with Saul, Jonathan became one in spirit with David, and he loved him as himself. From that day, Saul kept David with him and did not let him return home to his family. David became a servant in the kingdom. Jonathan made a covenant with David because he loved him as himself. Jonathan took off the robe he was wearing and gave it to David along with his tunic and even his sword, his bow, and his belt. Explain the bond that Jonathan and David enjoyed. Just pick a couple of phrases out of there. What are the phrases that explain their friendship here?
One in spirit.
Okay, one in spirit, right? They became one in spirit. And what else can that be than pointing to this bond of faith? And the result of that is loved him as himself, right? And often, we might reserve that kind of language for our marriage relationship, right? Although in marriage, the two become one flesh. So that is a little bit different. But Jesus does tell us to, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church, right? Love her as you love your own body. And yet, because of their bond of faith, Jonathan and David begin to share, some people try to turn this into a romantic thing. There's no reason to think about that. But they turn this into an unconditional, self-sacrificial friendship kind of love, right, for each other. And it goes a step further. What else describes their relationship in verse 3? What did Jonathan do? He makes a covenant. What's another word for covenant? A promise, an agreement. Now, I went to Jason Ewert's, the first one, and he talked about the difference between contractual marriage, which is, if you will do this, then I will do that. Right? And then he talked about a customer-vendor relationship, which is, as long as you have something that I want at a price that I want and present it in a way that I want, I will keep coming back for it. But he said a covenant is simply what you said at your wedding, I will. Right? I will. So Jonathan and David make some kind of covenant, a promise to each other. And so I hesitate from saying it's an agreement. I often use that word too, but it's a promise, it's an unconditional promise. Here's what I will do for you. And I want to keep digging and exploring to find out what exactly did they promise to each other, and we'll see that. But there's even collateral attached, right? I mean, Jonathan says, here's my robe, my tunic, my sword, my bow, my belt. Here's the pledge. This also reminiscent of marriage, where you give a ring and say, this ring is the pledge that I will, right? Love you unconditionally till death do us part. And so they make this covenant. And this is very intentional. Right? It wasn't understood. Right? He took the shirt. Yeah, he did, right? Gave him the shirt right off of his back. Right? This wasn't a bro code that we just have this understanding. They did this very intentionally. Just a thought question to get you thinking ahead. We don't know quite yet exactly what covenant they made with each other. But I want you to think about that. And then how might this look in our lives? We're just going to keep exploring here.